Okay, 5 predictions to well, I shouldn't start it that way. Give me a second. 5 predictions to the Big Ten out of the transfer portal. We've got a couple different teams, actually a few different teams we're talking about here. I have 5 predictions, but I have 4 teams that I'm talking about. And as you can see next to me here, one of those teams is Michigan. The first player is from Michigan, or is to go to Michigan, and the last player is to go to Michigan. So stick around for that last one, Michigan fans, if you want to figure out who the last one is as well. This first one that we have, he's technically in the transfer portal, but he just signed as a recruit to Utah, and that is one Salesi Moa to Michigan. He was the top ranked recruit according to On3 in Utah. Although he committed and signed to Utah, he did still enter into the transfer portal, and it does look like he will most likely be coming to Michigan. Now, this is not, this is nothing crazy. A lot of these guys from Utah, a lot of these guys who were committed or enrolled or signed with Utah or played with Utah last year who went to the transfer portal are now coming to Michigan. Michigan has money, good opportunity to win, a lot that they can sell these Utah players to come in for. And on top of that, a lot of these Utah players have their coaches going over to Michigan. So apparently, Salesi wanted to give Utah an opportunity to try and figure out who his position coach would be there. And apparently, he wants to continue to be coached by, well, not continue, he wants to be coached by the guy he committed to, which is Micah Simon, who is going over to Michigan as well. And since he wants to be coached by Micah Simon, it looks like he is most likely going to be over there. That is my prediction for Salesi Moa to go to Michigan. A lot of buzz out there from On3 24/7. A lot of the same stuff being discussed there. So if you're paying attention to those sites, you've probably seen that as well. The next one I want to get to here is Makhi Frazier from Michigan State. That's right. I think Makhi Frazier is going to be going to Indiana. I've not seen any predictions from anybody out there on this one, but I do think this is something that looks like it will most likely happen. Indiana will host the Michigan State transfer running back Makhi Frazier later this week. I've been told Thursday, but it might happen Friday as well. I don't think it's going to happen on the weekend, so we'll see how it goes. But there was a lot of rumblings that he would go to Texas A&M, and they were very hopeful for that. And that could still happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it does sound like he is very interested in Indiana, in particular because of Indiana and how dedicated to the run game they are. Indiana could have 2 1,000-yard rushers this year in Post-Hemby and Kalen Black. Now, Post-Hemby already has surpassed 1,000 yards rushing. Kalen Black, I believe he's at 955 yards, so he needs about 50 yards in the national championship game. We'll see if he can get it. If he can get it, then that would be huge for Indiana to kind of, huge. Obviously, winning the national championship would be much bigger, but it would just be a really cool thing for Indiana to have 2 1,000-yard rushers on their team. And both Hemby and Black are going to be moving on after the season, which leaves a starting and backup role at running back wide open for somebody to come in and get. Thought about maybe CJ Baxter at one point. That didn't happen. He's going to Kentucky now. Kind of what I said there. Production potential looked like that was going to be tested, but it sounded like Kirk Cinetti did not want him. Did not want him. Maybe I say that it's not like Kirk Cinetti like kicked him out or something. Get out of here. It's like not like he did that. It's like maybe he didn't want him for the price that he was, whatever it might have been. But I was just told there wasn't enough interest from Cignetti. So whatever that means, who really knows? But Indiana does have a lot of desire to run the ball. They go deep into their running back room. Even Kobe Martin this season has seen a good amount of carries, freshman running back. But you can bring in a guy like Makhi Frazier, who is more of a veteran, and him and Kobe Martin could be running together. And then you also might have Lee Beebe Jr. in this next year as well. He got injured early on in the season. Stinks for him. Obviously, we would love to see Lee Beebe Jr. come back and be able to play. But if that does, even if Makhi Frazier wins this battle, these are, there's no entrenched starter or anything like that here in place. Makhi Frazier has a pretty open room here to be able to win the starting running back job. And if he does win the starting running back job, you're going to be on a very good Indiana team that, is poised to win the national championship this season. So a lot of smoke there for that to possibly happen. We'll see if it does. Next one is a wide receiver. Washington. Haven't talked enough Washington transfer portal stuff. They've not been as active in the transfer portal. Got a really good recruiting class. They just got Logan George to go on over there. They missed out on a wide receiver, but it does look like Syracuse's wide receiver, Darrell Gill Jr., is heading to Washington. Look, they need a replacement for Denzel Boston. There is a very good pitch that Washington can give here saying, look at what we did last year with Denzel Boston. We need somebody to replace him. Now, that could be Desmond Roebuck, right? He could be the replacement. Freshman for Washington did a very good job coming on later, about halfway through the season. And so if you do not have Desmond Roebuck, though, you really don't have, I'm saying you do not have him. If you take Desmond Roebuck out of the competition here, you really don't have anybody else. So even if Gill does not become the Denzel Boston replacement, he would still be a huge part of this wide receiver room because right now, this season in 2025, he had 32 catches for 506 yards. That is more than the entire rest of Washington's wide receiver room outside of Desmond Roebuck, all of their career stats combined. The career stats combined of this Washington wide receiver room outside of Desmond Roebuck is 36 catches for 434 yards. That's right. Just four less catches than the entire room and almost 100 yards more receiving than them. 24/7 was out there rumoring that if DJ Lagway made a commit flip, which is kind of still crazy that we have that in the transfer portal, but it is what it is. You can actually flip back to your school. Washington fans know all about that. But apparently, if DJ Lagway were to go to Ole Miss, then Gill would have likely followed him there to Ole Miss, but it does not look like, according to some of the insiders there at 24/7, that I'm getting my names mixed up here, that Lagway is going to go to Ole Miss. It looks like Lagway is going to keep his commitment to Baylor, which is making people think that Gill might be going to Washington, and that is where I'm going to predict him to go. There was some thought about Gill going to Michigan as well, but Michigan bringing in Jamie French, I would think that Washington would be able to outbid Michigan for a Michigan wide receiver that would probably be third or fourth on the depth chart over one that would probably be second or third on the Washington, maybe even first on the Washington depth chart, in my opinion. Number 4, let's look at number 4. Now, I talked about Liam Danitz in our last episode when we were just us talking about some Big Ten battles out there. Liam Danitz is from Hope College. He is very, very freaky athletic, good measurable size, very fast kind of guy. Now, he does play D3 football, so the competition level is not the best, but if you go find Liam Danitz out there on Twitter, he's got some good film. Just go watch it. Just go watch Liam Danitz and how much speed he has. If we had more time, I would bring his film up on here. But he is a special kind of athlete who has not played, who did not play like big time high school football or anything like that. So he kind of went unnoticed. But now with him going to be playing college football most likely for one more year, as long as his waiver passes, and I believe that will pass. We'll see. There seems to be a lot of confidence that it will. But if that waiver does pass, then he'll be playing college football again for one more year. And it sounds like that will be at UCLA. Now, I did not think Danitz would be committing right away, so this is a little bit more of a guess. This is probably the one I'm most unsure about, but the UCLA defensive line coach posted that UCLA is not done yet. And so then you immediately think, okay, well, what's going on here? What could they be talking about? And my first thought was actually Sammy Omosigo, I hope I'm saying that right, the Oklahoma linebacker who's in the portal, but it wouldn't make very much sense for the defensive line coach of UCLA to be tweeting out that they're not done yet and they're landing a linebacker. So that's when I immediately thought of Liam Danitz, who visited last week. Liam got off his visit right before the dead period, and he cannot visit any other place. Now, the dead period does not mean you cannot commit. The dead period just means you cannot visit. All of these coaches can still talk to recruits and everything else. I believe there's some kind of coaches convention going on right now, and they don't want coaches to be, doing transfer portal stuff instead of going to the convention. So I think it's like the end of year coaches convention, and a lot of guys get hired from this kind of stuff too. So it is actually something that's really important to go to, and will be a huge advantage for somebody if they didn't go to this and they were able to, bring guys on campus. So it just makes sense to have, a short little Monday to Wednesday dead period. Like I said, guys can still commit, they just can't come on campus. So like I said, Danitz might be the guy here. We'll see. This is the one I'm probably most unsure about, but it does sound like UCLA is going to be landing somebody most likely tomorrow. You get a GIF and you get a thing like that from one of the coaches, and typically that means something soon. So whether it's Liam, whether it's Sammy, some kind of good news is coming for UCLA. Would be surprised if nothing comes out after we get that kind of news. And then my last one here. Bryson Kuzdzal, all right, the running back for Michigan. He could come back. He could come back, and I think he will come back. When he went to the transfer portal, he set up a visit with Iowa State very quickly. And Iowa State, he did go visit them, but he did not commit right away. And you say, oh, okay, well, he's going to take the rest of his visits. And then he was supposed to go visit Rutgers, and it sounds like he did not ever actually take that visit to Rutgers. He did not go to Rutgers for that visit. It's like, well, okay, maybe he was getting, somebody else coming in for him. Sounded like Georgia was coming in for him. Okay, well, Georgia was afraid they were going to lose Nate Frazier to Ohio State, their starting running back. Ohio State put in a very lucrative offer for Nate Frazier. Sounds like Georgia was able to retain him. Sure, good for Georgia, whatever. But it sounds like Bryson Kuzdzal never actually made that visit because they brought back Nate Frazier and they were no longer interested in Kuzdzal after that. And so you might be saying, well, JR, it makes no sense for Kuzdzal to go back to Michigan. They have Taylor Tatum and Jordan Marshall. He's not going to get reps there. That would be where you would be wrong. Michigan has a deep running back room, but many running backs play in Jason Beck's system. Not, maybe they don't get the most carries in the world, but they do play a lot. Now, Wayshawn Parker and Naquari Rogers, they had a combined snaps last year in Utah's offense with Jason Beck of 431 snaps. When you compare that to Michigan and what they had last year with their snaps, now if you compare it to Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, it dwarfs it. All right, it's not even comparable, but that's also because Jordan Marshall, Justice Haynes, they dealt with some injuries last year. So let's go ahead and give the snaps of Bryson Kuzdzal as well. Jordan Marshall, Justice Haynes, Bryson Kuzdzal, their combined snaps last year, 402. Two running backs for Utah last year outsnapped three running backs for Michigan, the three running backs that were playing the most for them. That's pretty impressive. Marshall had the most carries out of all of them, but you still saw plenty of playing time, and that's because Utah likes to utilize a lot of different two running back sets, maybe one tight end, two running backs. It's much more likely that they'll go to that than they would, Michigan went to a lot of two tight ends, one running back type of situation. I think in this one, you're going to see more one tight end, two running backs, maybe even 22 personnel of two tight ends, two running backs. We'll see. But that's just kind of the way this Utah offense operates. And with trying to keep guys fresh, I think you're going to see a healthy dose of Taylor Tatum, Jordan Marshall, and Bryson Kuzdzal all being used in this offense. And I think that Bryson Kuzdzal would make a very smart decision to come back to Michigan for that next year. And I think ultimately he'll make that decision. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think about these guys? If you're a Michigan fan, you excited about Salesi Moa there to Michigan, Bryson Kuzdzal, you want him back? Washington fans, what do you think about Darrell Gill Jr. to you guys? Would love to know what everybody is thinking here, and let me know. So like, subscribe, do all that good stuff.